China delays bid by US and India to sanction Pakistan terrorists at the UN. China delayed on Wednesday a proposal by the United States and India to sanction at the UNSC a top commander in the Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammad, that's JeM militant group. Diplomats said India and the United States wanted Abdul Rauf Azhar to be subjected to a global travel ban and asset freeze. Such a move has to be agreed to by all 15 members of the Security Council Sanctions Committee. So China, which is a big ally of Pakistan, has blocked this proposed list. And now we are joined by my colleague Abhishek Jha, who tracks the MEA. Very good morning to you, Abhishek. Yesterday we were discussing this list. It was proposed by our ambassador, Kamboj, in the UNSC. She brought up a whole list of topics, and this was a very prominent one because it sought to sanction many names on the list, especially this one of Abdul Rauf Azhar. And very interesting that China brazenly blocked this list, despite India citing security concerns.
Of course, Aisha, and we know that this is not the first time that China has done it. In the past also, this has been China's way of playing around the diplomacy in UNSC while trying to also support Pakistan. Because remember, if these terrorists, which currently we are talking about, if they are prohibited or proscribed by the United Nations Security Council, it will certainly bring a bad name to Pakistan, because Rauf Azhar is also based out of Pakistan. He is one of the senior commander of Jaish-e-Mohammad. His sibling Masood Azhar is already a proscribed terrorist under United Nations Security Council 1267 resolution. So to save Pakistan's image, China is actually trying to not let the fight against terrorism globally take a momentum. This is not the first time China has done it. In past also, when India tried to move a resolution through its diplomatic peers, because India was not part of United Nations Security Council at that time, to proscribe Masood Azhar, who was accused of many terrorist attacks in India, including Pathankot airbase attack and parliament attack, and also latest was the Pulwama attack, where 40 security personnel were killed. China is still put a technical hold on this case, citing that it needs more evidence and a study to before it can actually go ahead with the sanctioning process. So this is something that is hindering the fight against terrorism globally, and this was also brought up by Ruchira Kamrose earlier this week, when she cited that there has to be one definition of terrorist, and if countries keep putting technical hold, then it will not be a very productive way of fight against terrorism.
In 2019, India had a win when the UN agreed to ban Masood Azhar. But when you come to Azhar, that we're talking about currently, we've been asking to sanction him since 2009, in fact. So, Abhishek, this is an effort by India to not just strengthen our security borders, but also, as Ruchira has brought up, the growing threat of ISIS in Africa, in also the threat in Afghanistan. It does definitely spill over from these nations. So it really sounds like India is citing a lot of concerns that haven't been taken up too seriously by the Council.
In fact, ever since Taliban has taken over the regime in Kabul, India's concern have been growing continuously, because it knows that the fallout of Kabul will actually, seep into India's northern borders also, because there have been sentiments, anti-India sentiments among those terrorist organizations who have had linking and sympathy with Al-Qaeda or Taliban in the past. Though the current regime in Kabul, Taliban, have been saying that they are not trying to abate or aid any terrorist organization on their soil. But the last week's incidents, when the chief of Al-Qaeda, Al-Zawahiri, was killed in Kabul, right under the nose of Taliban regime by a US drone strike, it tells how much of actual ground reality Taliban is providing to the world, while claiming that it is not aligning itself with any terrorist activities anymore. But at the same time, it is harboring senior commanders of Al-Qaeda and other organizations as well. The same situation is in Pakistan also, where Pakistan has been claiming in the past.
We're also joined by author Sushant Sareen, who's also a security analyst. Very good morning to you, sir. Now, China and Pakistan blocking the sanctions proposed by the United States and India. Of course, Pakistan, that makes sense. We have seen them harboring terrorists in the past. But China also now, in a very bold move, backing Pakistan, blocking these sanctions. How do you view this?
No, but that's true to pattern, isn't it? The Chinese have always been doing it, and the Chinese are very clearly becoming a terror sponsor and a terror supporter. For the Chinese, any terrorism which hits China is bad terrorism. Any terrorism which affects India or the West is very good terrorism. So the Chinese are now sponsoring a terror-sponsoring country like Pakistan. And the Chinese are playing the terror game on an international stage. It's only when the Chinese feel that they are going to be very severely embarrassed that they relent and they go along with the rest of the international community. For example, in the case of the Jaish-e-Mohammad chief Masood Azhar, they continue to put a technical hold on his being proscribed as a international terrorist. For the longest, it was only when the Chinese felt that they're going to be isolated, they're going to be named and shamed, that they relented. They did the same thing earlier with Hafiz Saeed. In a sense, I think it is about time that the international community starts calling out China as a terror-sponsoring country, as a terror-supporting country, as a country which bats for terrorists and terror sponsors like Pakistan. And that's a no-brainer. That's been happening for many years now.
Sir, can you also tell us about Pakistan-based terrorist Abdul Rahman Maki, who India is seeking to sanction? He's one of the names on those lists, and they also contain the names of some of the world's most notorious terrorists, and which the proposal to blacklist them has been blocked by China and Pakistan.
Yeah, so this is under the Security Council resolutions which mandate the proscribing of these terrorists. Abdul Rahman Maki is one of the main commanders of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, / Jamaat-ut-Tawa. He has been a right-hand man of Hafiz Saeed. I think he's also related in some ways to Hafiz Saeed, either his brother-in-law or something like that, but they're all mixed up in the family anyways. So he is one of the main guys. He has been found involved in a number of terror incidents, and he has been already proscribed and designated as an international terrorist by the Americans. Now what was being attempted is a proscription by the United Nations. On that, the Chinese have put a technical hold, like they've done in the past in the case of Masood Azhar of Jaish-e-Mohammad or Hafiz Saeed and a couple of other people. So it'll be good if a man like Abdul Rahman Maki can be proscribed, but I think we'll probably have to go through that torturous route of naming and shaming China, of showing that China is going to be isolated on this issue. Calling for a vote and then China will be standing alone. We'll have to probably follow through the same thing. The only problem is that, every time you have to go through that mill, there is this thing that by the time the prescription comes, it's so torturous that you wonder whether it's even worth going through that torturous process. But I wonder what else is the option, unless, of course, we change our policy and start adopting covert tactics to take these guys out. If you want to take a legalistic route, then this is probably the only way forward.